Good morning. So, I wanted to show you all where we're at today from the top. If you run the init file, which has been shuffled around a little bit, I'll explain in a minute, opens up our little game demo. And you can see we have our player we can move around. You can still walk through walls, which I hope to fix today. And we have our little NPC where you can cross over by the fountain. So, if we go back to the editor, you'll see that, well, first of all, I got the main file under 100 lines, which is, I find personally satisfying. Did this by, there's some code cleanup going on, like the player and the NPC are both loaded with a single line now. It loads the player data and the NPC by name out of the tiled level. A lot of the scrolling is a lot easier now. For scrolling this sprite display instead of trying to figure out render offsets based off of where the player is located. But I've also taken all the initialization and cleanup code and moved that to other files. The initialization file does all of our imports and then runs the main file. We do it this way so that I just want to make sure everything here gets loaded into the global namespace. Run all of our main code. At the end of that, we run the cleanup, and then the cleanup puts everything back where it was. Make this a little bit bigger. And then I wanted to walk a little bit through the map changes. I made the map a little bit bigger. Expanded it to 32 by 32 tiles, which is a standard for the Final Fantasy II game, Super Nintendo game that I played so much when I was younger. I think I'll try to replicate some of the features from that game, starting with the map size. You can see that we still have the base and decoration layers. We've the entity layer, introduced that last time. We have the player. That name property is what we're using to locate the player in the code. Sprite sheet and sprite index were added yesterday. And if you check with the player sprite sheet, if you go to the sprites file here, you'll see that's the sprite sheet name. And so that sprite sheet is associated with these two image files. If you look at one of the image files, this one right here is index 41. Counting left to right, top to bottom, just count across, you know which sprite sheet index to use. Which makes it really easy to add an NPC. NPC is index 26. So one of the things we're going to be doing today is working on making the library changes I've been making shareable. If you go to lib, got that mini microtile folder, which when I did this, I downloaded the Git repo for the mini microtiled library and pasted the contents in here, which is fine if you're not wanting to share your changes back upstream, back to the source library, which it turns out I actually have made a lot of changes. So we need to figure out how to rearrange all of this to make the library changes shareable. The standard solution for that I'm going to try to implement right now is using Git Submodules. So there you go, right there. It often happens that while working on one project, you need to use another project from within it, which is exactly what's going on here. We are going to try to implement this right now. So hopefully I will not make too much of a mess of things. First of all, let's back this up. I would hate to lose the work I did there. Although, it's all saved to Git. Anything you put in Git is never really lost. So we need that. Go and open a terminal. And you can see like that's where our backup tiled library is. And what I think I'm going to do is fork the source repo, the library repo, create my own copy of it. Copy the main branch only. That'll just take a minute. Okay. So we have our fork. I'm going to copy the SSH path, and then git submodule add, and then the path. Let's do that. That's interesting. Oh, it's because the Git repo already has that folder. So we need to probably changes we just made. Here, let's take this in steps. We don't want to make a mess. So here's the changes that are waiting for us. Those files are all just related to code cleanup. Let's get those out of the way. And then we have renaming the folder. And all that staged. Commit that. I'm not going to sync it yet. Let's try adding it now. Coding. Cool. So that's cloned. Add that as a submodule. Okay. I'm not going to commit that yet. So let's keep reading the directions. We've added our submodule. So that's fine. Added that as a directory. Run git status, you'll notice a few things. What will we notice? Well, let's go run git status and see what we'll notice. Your branches ahead of origin made by 3 commits. Well, yeah. It's a git modules file. It's fine. The other listing in the Git status output is the project folder entry. If you run git diff, you will see something interesting. Let's run git diff. I don't see anything interesting. Hope I did that right. Here, we'll clone a project with submodules in it. When you clone such a project, by default, you get the directories that contain submodules, but none of the files within them. Right. I remember that being a thing this time I messed around with submodules. It's empty, you must run two commands: git submodule init to initialize your local configuration, and git submodule update to fetch all the data. So, the micro-tiled, I guess it must have initialized that when I added the submodule. Let's go ahead and update and see what happens. Okay. I'm a little curious as to what is setting. You know what? I think I'm going to push this upstream to my Git repo. So I want to see what it actually looks like. I'll give that just a second. But you'll see there's three repos now. That's the inspect dialog, which currently not planning to change. There's our role-playing game. There's the tiled library. Let's go look at the tiled library upstream. That's the one I forked. It's still just there. Let's go to the RPG Lite repo. Into lib folder, there's the backup we created, and there's a reference to the tiled library. If we open that, it actually opens up the other repo. It's kind of cool. So let's try pushing our updates into it. Replays. Okay, no changes there. Got the license and the README. Shouldn't have changes. Looks like the README has changes. Does it? Oh yeah, I had a note there about that objects actually are supported now. And I had a note about custom properties. I added that on the 17th. And then we'll copy over the library code. Replace. So now the backup folder is empty. Delete that. So now you can see that the old library has been removed from the source repo, and a bunch of changes have been added to the tiled repo. Let's go and check over what exactly changed. So changes for the first GAD to make sure that you can have multiple tile sets, tiled object groups for the object layer, object details, custom property loader. The changes are all kind of tangled up in each other, so I think I'm just going to commit the whole chunk all at once. So we've committed that, push that up, and then let's go ahead and update our source repo. And that should be what we need to get everything functioning again. So now, see, that's all blue. Ah, it's blue, there's a little S there. Tooltip says that it's a submodule. So that's kind of neat. And let's make sure it still runs at all. Reboot. And I can do the run init from the startup file. I'm just not ready to do that yet. And yeah, it still works, which is great. Let's see if we can create a merge request. We'd love to be able to push these changes back upstream. There you go. Updated 1 minute ago. Let's see how to create a merge request. Discuss review changes in comparison with others. Base, add, create pull request. Not really sure what else to put in the description. But there you go. Now it is by maintainers. Yeah, sure. Create pull request. And there you go. And now we just wait and see if is it Mantic? Mantic from Michael Whitaker. We'll see what he thinks. But regardless, I created a fork so we can continue pushing updates to the fork. And I think I will pause this video here. I'm going to try working out the collision detection today, which will basically mean, well, I created a collision layer, and the map is not going to be rendered. It's just like place a dark tile every place where you don't want the player walking. And then you have to implement some code to so that the player doesn't actually walk on it. But I think I've talked long enough for this video, and hope to see you again soon.